Good morning everyone and welcome back to Mr. Bravo's workshop. In our first episode of the submarine build of the 995, I can't really say the name, but it's Yuri Bori Dolgoruky. I think I did pretty well. We got up to this far here. So there was a bit of a seam in the hull, and I am not too particularly bothered about a seam because, well, it is basically a submarine after all. Excuse me, just had my coffee. If it was a little bit of a seam mark, I'd just say, well, it's part of the hull. We are going to paint this matte black. Where are we? So some of the plans to paint this submarine is mostly all black. And to be honest with you, I got this plan for this very reason with the white line and the red. I do like the subs, and I do like that it's 1/350 scale, and it's quite a big sub. It's so comparable to the ship. Yeah, this was a monster. And being Russian, I'm not surprised. But anyway, the white line is what sort of challenged me on this one, so that's what we're going to try and do. So I suppose our first job is have a bit of a look at it, and I'm fairly happy with it. It's got a bit of a rough sand all over it anyway. I think what we'll do first, I do have these two front fins to put on, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to give it a coat of undercoat. So I was just thinking a little forward here. We still have front fins that have to go on, and quite simply we can either glue them on now or we can paint them up and put them on later. Now they do produce a little bit of a challenge because they are in the red area. They are red underneath and on the side here, but definitely looking down they're black on top. So if some careful masking up, you can add them now, paint this all red, although my plan is to do the white first. We'll drop down a line to keep the white, then we'll spray the red, and then we'll mask up where we want to keep the red, and then pretty much blacken everything else out. That's the plan from here onwards. But first, we'll get some undercoat on this thing first. So I've just fitted the two fins, quite fiddly to do because there's no real locating points or anything, so just take your time. Yeah, they just still need some adjusting, although on the camera that looks like they're hanging down, but they're not. But they are still quite fragile, so I will let them go off a little bit. I decided to do the top piece of the sub, the headpiece. Two different pieces. I've test fitted this. It's a really nice fit, but it's quite fiddly, and I've knocked these a few times and re-straightened them and re-glued them and re-straightened them. So I'm going to treat this as a separate little piece. There's the stand. I've kind of put some undercoat on it. This all has undercoat on it as well, which is why you can't see the photo etch anymore. Yeah, it kind of looks nice with a little bit of photo etch on there. I do get why photo etch is nice. So now I'll bring in the sub. Oh, I just realised before that I've got to undercoat these pieces here. Yeah, I didn't use any gloves. I live with it. It's okay. So I originally painted this once, and there's still a very slight seam line in there, but what I've done is I deliberately was not that good and pretty shallow with the putty, because I'm just going to treat this as a weld line on the hull, and I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, just you don't have to agree. It's just my models are my models, and that's what they are. I put the fins on. I have knocked them off once. I think I have to straighten that one again. They're becoming a bit of a pain, those fins, because I have glued them I think 3 times now. Now, I also, when I painted this, I put this down on the mount, which I can do that now. But during when I was painting it, I had it sitting like that because I had the front end done. And when I took it off, I left a big mark in there. So I ended up resanding all this back out and then repainting it all over again. So that's where we're at with that. It came up pretty good actually. Pretty happy with it. So what I was saying before is this piece does kind of sit straight up there on that, and I'm happy to glue that on and add that later, just like that. And then we're going to have one really nice looking sub, as long as I can get the painting in that line right. And as I stated, it's one of the reasons I went for this sub in the first place. Okay, so what's next? All right, I suppose we have to paint this white so I can drop that line down. I'm going to re-glue these. I'm probably going to re-glue these. I may or may not paint it white, and we'll see how we go. They do need re-gluing though. A little trick of mine is sometimes after I've undercoated, I like to re-glue stuff anyway. I find this stuff kind of melts the paint and the glue together, and when you put it on, it gives you a very seamless little join on it, whatever part you're looking at. So I glued these on earlier, and then I undercoated them, and you can see what I mean. And then I re-glued them, and it just seams them on there, just beautiful. It's like they're part of it. There's one I've just done. I've done that side and that side. That one's just about dried. That one's still drying. I still see it glistening, and it does. It just sets them off nicely. So I'll just wait for that to go off a little bit, and then I'm going to do the other side. And you shouldn't really do two sides at once, because sometimes what can happen is, yeah, you might glue it, but it weakens it. So glue one side, let it go off, and then turn it around and glue the other. Well, good morning everyone, and welcome back to Mr. Bravo's workshop. It is the next morning, and where are we here with this? So yesterday I've undercoated all of this and all the other bits and pieces. This fin at the front here was pretty fragile. I'd knocked it off about 3 times, or actually knocked it loose. So I re-glued it last night, and with most of these plastics, you have to let them go for quite some time before they come really hard. So very happy with that this morning. The submarine looks good. I've deliberately left a little bit of a line in here, and it's faded in and out after using the Tamiya putty. I'm not too particularly, worried about the line, because, well, ships are made and welded and battered and whatever else, and that's what we're going to call this one. So where are we now? Okay, so as I explained yesterday, part of the reason I got this submarine was, one, I like the size of it. It's Russian, so nothing wrong with that. I kind of like the Russian subs. Is the white line kind of, I found that a little challenging. So what we need to do is we need to spray all the hull in white in a bit of a strip all the way around. Not the very end by the looks. So we're up to the fin only, and then around from the fin and back. So we can prepare the white, put the white on there. And the whole point of that is, so once this white is on, we can drop another line down like I did with the last build, the HMS Queen Elizabeth. And hopefully when we pull the line up, after we've done the rest of the colours, we should be left with the white. That's the plan. So I'll prepare some white and get it ready. So I always have a certain colours that are always pre-mixed. I mean, these are some red and some black. And I always have them mixed up and they're ready to go. I find these work really well. They go off too long, then I just sort of empty them out, clean them out, and away I go. I don't really use white that often, so I never really had any white made up. So here's a brand new white. Let's make up one of my containers. Now I do want to say one thing. With the lighter colours, you really want to use, I mean, I've got lots of pipettes around here that I use all the time, and they're all over the place. But because it's white, you really do need to use brand new stuff. So there is a brand new white, clear pipette for the white, and the reason why I'm saying that is, and any slight bit of colour you have that goes in a white, you'll change this. So keep your whites really clean by just using nice clean stuff. And again, I'll keep this one separate just for this light colour. So we'll grab a bit of thinners and we'll get ready to mix this up. I always like to keep a bit of an idea of the ratios. So when I originally mixed this, I mixed 6 and then 6 of the thinners and 4, and I knew it was just a little bit off, so I ended up putting 1 more, so it was 6 thinners, 5 paint, and that's the paint hull, so that's quite a lot of paint. And probably something similar with the black. So I think what we'll do here is we'll do something similar even with the white, which is probably, I don't mind having extra mixed up. So we might do the 6 first of the thinners and 4 of the paint, and we'll see how that goes. Now, if you're going to mix up paint, always do your thinners first, because once you've dipped this in the paint, you can't then go back and dip it into the thinners. So what we're really trying to do is start off thin and add paint as we need it. So we'll go 6 first and then 4, and we'll see how we go. So we'll grab the nice clean pipette, nice clean thinners, one, and I only ever do a pinch, 2, 3, 4, 5. You might be thinking to yourself, man, that's a lot of paint. It is a lot of paint, and I do lots of painting here anyway. And the other thing too is, I do find with the airbrush, you've got to have your paints fairly thin, otherwise they come out splattery, you end up with all kinds of problems. So now let's do the white. I gave it a really good mix. Let's give it another good mix, just in case there's anything on the bottom. And that's all I do. Even when I paint, I give them a good mix, and then I usually, like if I'm hand painting, I'll give them a good mix, I'll flip the lid upside down, and I'll take the paint from inside here, not really from in there. Oh, I thought there was a lump in there. It's just a bubble rolling around. But see, that's just enough paint to be to do what you need to do. Okay, so there's one. What I also like to do is, while I've got the thinners in there and there's such thick paint in the pipette, is I will now soak up some thinners and I'll push it through, which kind of cleans the pipette out. So that's 1. 2, 3, and 1 more. So what I'll do now is I'll clean the pipette with a watery mix, and this also helps to mix it too, because it's basically sucking it up, the paint and thinners, mixing it up and spitting it out. And as you can see by the pipette, it's quite watery now. Because it's white, we may have to add another colour. You're not going to get much on the outside, so we'll just do that. Yeah, I've got a mixer here, I can do that as well. So what I like to do, to see if it's mixed properly, is I like to get some paint and just dab it. And that is too watery. So I'll go 1 more. So what I did there, I just mixed it up, and then I dab it on there. Yeah, that's quite good. And also dab. Yeah, happy with that. I'll put some tape on the lid to sort of say that one's been watered down. So that one there is right to go. That's right to go. quite a lot in there, because I noticed the last time when I sprayed black lines and stuff on hulls, you have to do them a few times, and well, I suppose you go for a fair bit of paint. This is not exactly a small hull either, so I think we're going to go for a bit of paint. So I'll get everything else set up. So there's our submarine set up, and what I did, I've just rolled it up on an angle that suits me, so that when I paint, I can just paint along here in roughly a line. Now what we do need to work out is roughly where is our line. I'm just going to roll the ship around for a better view for you. Now at the top of the fin here, there is a port of some sort. There could be a torpedo port or something. That is the line where the white needs to go. So I can show you on the picture as well. There's the port just in front of the fin. There's the fin. There's the port there. So somewhere along that line, and it does look like there's a secondary port back here, but it looks like it goes just under it. So if we just spray just along that line there and continue all the way through, I think we'll be right. I'll just zoom out. So if we just spray along that line all the way through here on this side, and then travel that line around on the other side, we should be pretty right with our white line. So I'll get that set up ready to go. Because we're using white, I'm also giving the air gun a really good clean as well, because I don't want any contamination onto the white colours. So I've given it a good clean on the inside. I've also cleaned the tip. I'm going to run the gun right through, so I'm going to run some thinners right through the gun to clean it right out. So I just ran thinner through it, very happy with it, nice and clean. With the white and not any light colour, you've got to have your gun fairly clean. I am stressing that because it's very important, especially with white. So I'll just adjust the gun for half a minute. You don't want a lot of paint coming out. So we don't really want a whole lot of paint coming out. I'm just going to start off just kind of like the line that I wanted, with a bit of a dust coat. It is hard to see the white on the grey, so we'll just continue that line all the way through. It's a bit of a dust coat. Sort of working backwards and forwards. We'll let that go off for a minute. Can you see that on there? Oh yeah, you can see that on there. So I'm not too worried about the tip here, because what I'll do at the end of the ship, I'll spin them around. I'll do one end just to, you know, make sure it's done, and I'll do the same at the other end where the fins are. This has had quite a few minutes to sort of go off now. It is quite thinned down with thinners, so it's not going to take long to go off. Go slightly heavier now because we do have the dust coat already down. And again, I'm just kind of guessing the line here. You know, go a little bit wider than I need to. Keep going in a nice motion all the way to the end. And we'll let that go off. So that's now gone off for quite a few more minutes. We'll go along, we'll put another coat on there. And each time we put a coat, it's just getting a little better each time, a little heavier with the white. Helps to have it rolled over this way, because I can just sort of stay in the same motion and pretty much pick up the same line. The light behind me helps. I can kind of see how heavy it's going on. So we're pretty right there now. We'll let that go off, and it might need just one more coat. So it's been about 10 minutes later. We'll come back in, we'll give it its last coat. And it's looking pretty good. I'm not going to show you painting the other side because there's no need. It's pretty much the same stuff. So if I showed you extra amount on this side, you should know exactly what's going on the other side. So now this last coat's going down a little thicker, and it is. It's coming out beautiful now. Just a nice line. Nice and white. It is flat, so I'm doing all these colours a bit of a dull flat colour. It is lacquer paint, so it's a little hardier. Yeah, it's very nice. So I'll turn it around and I'll do the tips on either end. So I'm set up, I'll do the tip now, just so that when I spray the other side that I don't have to worry about it. So we'll just come back and we'll just do the tip. I can probably even roll that up a bit more. The stand is actually helping. It's hard to say where that paint's going to go, so I'll make the tip a little wider, just in case we're missing the line a bit. Because we do know the line is roughly through there. So that's one end done. It is morning time here, and the sun does rise from the east, and it's trying to come through the window, and every now and then you're seeing the shadow coming through and you're picking up a little bit of dust and stuff. There's nothing I can do about that. So now we'll do the tip on this end, and we kind of just really just want to work our way back around. And just to be safe to pick up any line, really. And then we'll tip it back that way as well. And this is why I did mix up a fair bit of extra paint, because I knew I was putting quite a few layers on there. So I'll turn the ship around, I'll continue on this side, I'll do the 4 coats, and I'll come back at the end of it. So there's our white line down. I'll just turn it around a bit so you can take a few shots of it. There's the nose. I'm just going to get down, look here, I think we've got enough of the nose covered. Might just give it just a little more up here, because I'm not sure how the tape's going to lay out. So there's the other side, and I'll swing around just so you can see the back as well. Now there's the back. Pretty happy with that, because I'm not really sure of the line, and there's plenty of line to go by on there. You will notice, of course, I did not do the tip. The tip is in multiple colours, and it's far easier for me to spray them in different colours and add them to the end and just sort of glue them on in one piece. Same with the top piece up here. It is made. It is already done in the undercoat, and the same reason. It's easier and less trouble for me to make that, which is already made, and add that to the end to give it that final look. And it does. It looks great. So what we'll do now, we'll let that go off. I'm not sure how much we've got in this episode, but quite a lot. I'm probably going to edit it down a little bit. So I think we'll call it a day there. And the next episode, I'll come along and I'll put the masking tape on and we'll get set up ready for that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's moving along quite all right. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.